Hello everyone and welcome back to our VST Instruments and Plugins channel. This is Dom and I'm really excited because on this video we are going to play some guitars. I'm going to show you our brand new guitar library for HALion, HALion Sonic and HALion Sonic SC, the TGuitar from our friends at Acoustic Samples. The TGuitar is a sample library based on a Taylor C410 that has been thoroughly sampled to accurately reproduce the strumming of a real guitar. It uses a very clever chord recognition algorithm and strumming engine. It can play any chord in any way you want, and it's not limited to any genre, tonality, or chord progression. The most important thing is that this guitar is really playable, and because of this it can sound exactly how you want it to sound, and it can play what you want it to play, not the other way around. So let's dive into the instrument and start playing some cool guitar sounds. So first, let me give you a quick tour of the interface. The interface is actually very simple. The first thing you have to know is the modes. We have 3 modes. The solo mode allows you to play individual notes like, any other library, but it has some really cool things. I'm going to show you about that. Then we have the chords mode, which allows you to play chords, but it actually recognizes the chords and it converts them into real guitar chords. And then you can strum them or you can create arpeggios. Again, I'm gonna show you all that. And then we have the pattern mode, which is very similar to the chords mode, but in this case, you can have patterns and you can activate patterns and you can create very, very cool guitar arrangements. So before we go ahead and listen to these 3 modes, let's go and click that cogwheel right here, which brings up the settings for TGuitar. And this is a very important dialog because here you can dial in the sound that you want. And this is, in my opinion, very important to get it right, to make it sound like you want it in the first place. So there are quite a few controls here. We have the release volume, which basically adjusts the volume of the release sounds. I like to leave it at 10 because I like these release noises we have there. It adds to the realism of the instrument. Then the fret noise, again, maybe I want to boost it a little bit, this one. Then we have the dynamics control, and this determines how much the velocity that we play on the keyboard will affect the sound. So if I play softly or hard, this control determines how much these dynamics will affect the sound. For example, if I set it to 0, it doesn't matter how hard I hit the keys. Then we have the velocity curve and the MIDI sensitivity. So these controls allow you to play the guitar expressively according to your own playing style and your MIDI controller. Moving on, we have the reverb. This is really useful if you want to add like a touch of reverb to your guitar sound. I like to add just a hair of reverb so that I can add a nice room sound to my guitar. Then we have the EQ section where we can control the bass, mids, and trebles. Sometimes for acoustic guitars, I like to boost the highs a little bit. So for example, if I want to add a little bit more room size, make it like a larger room. And then we have the microphones. And in this case, we have overheads, we have closed microphones, and we also have a DI sound. So if I have the overheads only, then we can have the closed mics only. Very, very different sound. And of course, we have the DI sound, which comes straight from the piezo pickups. So this is very, very useful. You can create many different tones just by tweaking the microphone volumes right there. Now, if you want like the most acoustic guitar sound, maybe you want to turn off the DI, but sometimes if you have a very busy mix, the DI sounds really makes the sound cut through and it adds a little bit more attack and a more mid-range. So now that we've dialed in our sound, let's go and explore the different modes. So let's start with the solo mode. The solo mode is great if you want to play guitar solo passages, but I also like to use it sometimes when I'm doing arpeggios because it has a very distinct sound, and I'm going to show you why. To begin with, we have 2 legato modes. So if we have legato turned off, that means there is no transition between every note. So I can just play Now, if I select hammer-ons as my legato mode, then I can recreate those hammer-ons like on a real guitar. And of course, you can hear those release sounds now. And then we have the slides legato mode that allows us to create slides. Now, with the slide time, you can control how fast this slide time will be. So if you're playing a slower song, you might want to set a longer slide time. And if you have a faster song, maybe a shorter slide time. Now, the legato interval is also very useful because you might want to say, I only want the slides to happen on semitones or whole tones. So you can set this right here. So if I go to hammer-ons, and I set this to just one semitone, I will only get a hammer-on when I play semitone. But if I set it, for example, let's say to 7 semitones, I get all these very cool hammer-ons, and you can set it exactly how you want it. That, again, depends on what you're going to play on the guitar. Now, moving on, a very important parameter is fingers or pick playing style. So fingers, of course, it's finger style, and then we also have a pick sound. So if I play with the finger style, let's play it like that. And now let's try the pick playing style. Now, the next control is very important, and I think it can give you a wide range of sounds when you are in solo mode. It's the string selection mode. And this, you can set it to manual, or you can set it to auto string selection. Now, depending on what you want to do, these two modes can both work very, very well. So if you set it to manual, you control the hand position by using this control right here. So if I want to have an open string sound, I'm playing open chords, I might want to set it to hand position 0. So it sounds like this. But I can play the exact same thing, but maybe I want it to sound like I'm playing it higher up on the fretboard. So let's go to, let's say, position 12. Again, see the difference? 0 or 12th fret position. This is great because you can get these really, really interesting sounds. Of course, every chord sounds different on a real guitar if you play it higher up on the fretboard or lower down on the fretboard. Completely different sound, completely different timbre. So this is an incredibly useful control. So depending on what you're gonna play, you might want to set it to manual if you know you want something like this. Maybe you want something even higher up. Now, if I switch this to auto, TGuitar selects the hand position automatically for me. So let's try it out. See how it went to open strings once I went down? It detected that, so that's very, very cool. So let's see how it auto detects the hand position where we're playing arpeggios. Very, very clever. Now, the auto string selection is extremely important if you're going to play solo passages. I like having this on all the time when I'm playing solo with the hammer-ons legato mode because it gives me the most realistic sound. So let me show you. For example, let's try the fingers playing style. And let's try the pick style. So as you can see, when I'm playing solos and I'm playing arpeggios, the TGuitar analyzes my playing and adjusts the hand position so that I get the most realistic sound and pretty much what a real guitarist would play if they played on a real guitar. So moving on, let's go to the chords mode. Now the chords mode is, in my opinion, really genius. Why? Because most libraries, what they do is they have some pre-made guitar patterns and you're basically stuck with them, right? So you have like a specific pattern and it plays and you can select the chords and it works great, but what if this doesn't work with your song? Then you have a problem. Then you must go and edit things and it never sounds really good. But what TGuitar does is it gives you complete freedom on how you can strum your chords. So the way the chords mode works is very simple. You basically select the chord on your left-hand side. Let's say I want to select an A minor. Okay, and then I can use these notes. As you can see right here, we have these red keys. This is the downstroke and this is the upstroke. So, and then we have C sharp. That gives me a downstroke, but it's muted, and then a strum up muted. And then I can create all those nice groovy sounds. So let's say I pick an A minor chord here, and now I can start strumming with these keys. And as you can see, TGuitar detects the chord straight away and it gives me the correct voicing. So as you can tell, when I'm playing an A minor here, that's not a guitar voicing, right? It's very, very condensed. This is spread out. So TGuitar is clever enough to give you the correct chord, like what a real guitarist would play if they had to play an A minor chord. So if I play an A minor, see, it's spaced out like an A minor, like what a guitar player would play. Now, if I want to play an A minor 7th, again, I can do this, but it doesn't stop there. If I want to create arpeggios on top of the strumming, I can still do this by triggering these yellow notes right here. See? So let's go to our A minor, and now I'm going to play some arpeggios. So I can create arpeggios very, very quickly. And TGuitar basically makes you feel like a real guitarist. You can actually strum the strings right here. So I can play arpeggios, or I can even strum using my fingers like a real guitarist. So check out how many different patterns I can come up without being a keyboard player. You don't need to be a great keyboard player to do that. You know, you can do all these things. And then, of course, you can do plain strumming. Or a combination. Now, sometimes you might want your left hand to also trigger the chord, so you have enough time to play the pattern on your right hand. This you can do by turning on this control right here, left hand strum. And now, I can also trigger the first stroke, the first strum on my left hand, which is very useful. So you can do all these cool things. It's so much fun, and the great thing is completely real time, and you can see how fast I can play strums. So it doesn't sound weird, it sounds really, really organic. So as you can see, up to this point, I've been triggering chords on my left hand, and you can play some pretty complex chords like this. For example, if I want to play C major 7 with a ninth, I could go like this. And TGuitar will recognize that chord. But if you're not a keyboard player, you might struggle to play these complex chords on your keyboard. So TGuitar has you covered in this case. You can actually program TGuitar and make it select a chord without you playing the whole chord on your keyboard on your left hand. For example, let's say I want to have a B flat, and when I hit B flat on my keyboard, I want to have a B flat chord. And for this, I want to have a chord type of a 7 with sus2 and sus4. So this is going to sound something like this. I might want to change it to a 7th chord, or a diminished 7th chord, or a 7 with a flat 9. So quite complex chords, and this is really, really useful if you want to play the guitar effortlessly without worrying about the chords that you trigger on your left hand. So let's say, for example, that I want to start with an A chord, and maybe I want the A to be an A minor 7th, and maybe I want the D to be a D minor 7th with a flat 9. And let's say that on the E note, I want to have, let's say, an 11th chord. Let's see how this sounds. Now, if I want to change the strum speed, I can still do this by using this control. So this, of course, depends on your song. And then we can change the strum style. It can be finger or pick, and we can have a different style for picking. So maybe you want to strum with the pick, and then you want to pick with your fingers. You have all these controls. And then we can change the strum center. So what does that mean? That means from what string our strumming is going to start from. Is it going to strum from the upper E or a little bit lower than that? So if you want to get rid of some of the low end, you might want to turn up your strum center like this. So let's say you have a very busy bass line and you want the guitarist to play only the upper notes. This will really help you. This is actually a very cool thing, because many guitarists, many session guitarists, what they do is they leave a little bit of space for the bass, so they don't play all those low strings. They try and play a little bit more of the high strings instead of the lows when they have a busy bass line. Now, the string amount is again a very useful control, and what it does is it determines how many strings are going to be played when you play really low velocities on your keyboard. And again, this is an effect that a real guitarist would do if they played, very quiet passages. They would leave out some strings and not play the entire, like 6 strings. You would just play fewer of them. And this emulates this exact behavior. So let me show you. So if I go 6, I'm gonna get a full strum. But if I go 1, it adds more and more strings progressively the higher the velocity I hit on my keyboard. And so I always like to leave this at 1. It gives me the most realistic playing. And again, it's completely customizable, so you can recreate all those nuances that a real guitarist would give to your song, would give to your performance. So again, you really feel like a real guitarist. Now let's move on to the patterns mode. Now this mode is very similar to the chords mode, with the only difference that we have pre-made patterns. So on this mode, again, we trigger our chords on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side with the red notes, we select our patterns. So now all I need to do is select the pattern on the red notes right here. And as you can see, if I don't play any chords, we're just going to get this mute strum sound. But now if I select the chord, and I can also control the dynamics of my strumming, depending on how loud I hit the keys. So now if I want to select different patterns, let's say I want to go here and select my patterns. Now as you can see, we have these red keys right here. This corresponds to these keys. So now I can select what pattern every key will hold. So for example, let's say I want to change that pattern that we have on the C. Maybe the one that is on the D. Maybe this is too busy for me. I can just click on this and I can go and select each one of these patterns. And it's very easy to select patterns. This is really, really important because there are many libraries that have so many patterns and you're lost and there's no way to know which chords each pattern has. This is very simple. You can say I want a pop pattern and I can go like this. And I can trigger them that easily. So in a nutshell, that's what the TGuitar can do very, very easily. You can play solos, you can play arpeggios, you can play chords, and the chords are really, really easy to play. You don't have to worry about pre-made patterns or MIDI files or any of these things. This guitar plays how you want to play it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play the TGuitar over an arrangement that I've created with Groove Agent 5 and Simon Phillips jazz drums, and of course the electric bass. And I'm going to play everything live, all the strumming, all the picking, everything is going to be performed live, no patterns, so I can show you how easily you can create all these realistic parts in real time without anything pre-recorded. So let's get started. So as you can see, that was recorded all in real time, no key switching, no patterns, everything was played live on TGuitar. And that's because of this very, very clever chord detection system, and of course, the fact that I can go and trigger my strumming and my arpeggios with the right hand. So there you go. This is the TGuitar brand new library for HALion, HALion Sonic, and HALion Sonic SE from our friends at Acoustic Samples. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and don't forget, if you're looking for more sounds, music production tips, and synthesizer tutorials, this channel is for you. So you might want to subscribe so you won't miss any of our future videos. Until next time, have fun with TGuitar and make some awesome music with it.